2:04 in the afternoon. Welcome back to the Tieman Show, second hour. Didn't have a chance over the past couple of weeks to once again say congratulations to the senior NDG Lynx for their participation, of course, winning the Canadian Championship this year. And we've been following them all along, and we've had their manager on, Bobby Titleman, a couple of times, and of course followed them into the World Championship, which was in Bangor, Maine. And Bobby joins us once again. Just one more chance to say congratulations and talk about what the kids went through. And I know they had a terrific time. Bobby, welcome.
Thank you very much, Andy.
So you signed the book last night.
We got to sign the book.
Wow.
This whole thing is like the gift that keeps on giving. We were invited by Michael Applebaum, who's the mayor of our borough, as well as the chair of the executive committee. So the whole team was invited to City Hall. They had a little reception for us and a photo op, and we all got to sign the Golden Book, and another in a line of great experiences for the boys.
So now, did he give you a key or anything that allows you to just kind of run rampant through the neighborhood and eat free at places and stuff like that? No.
I figure if we get to go back next year and win the World Series, maybe we could get the key to the city then.
How were the kids with all of this? Like, do they kind of, I don't want to say appreciate, because I'm sure they do, but are they kind of taken back by all of this?
Completely. I mean, I just think the reaction that we've got locally, it's just beyond anyone's expectations. I said it before. I mean, I think the team really represents Montreal, who the city is, this kind of multi-ethnic and multilingual group of kids. They're great kids, and in a city maybe that's baseball starved with the absence of the Expos, I guess we're a pretty good feel-good story. And, they're really good kids, and I'm so happy that they're getting this kind of exposure because they deserve it.
How was it at the Worlds? I know we talked briefly. You finished 0-4, but you held your own in a couple of games, and
we absolutely did. And we were chatting about it. I mean, so much of this is really about the baseball, and we've lost sight of it a bit with all these different events. But we were chatting yesterday. I was chatting with Ray and the other coaches. Like, we were in two of the games where we really feel we could have won the games. We ended up losing 5-4 to the Tyler, Texas team, which went on to the actual final game where they ended up losing to Hilo, Hawaii. So here we were, I mean, basically in the game, and we kind of made one defensive lapse, turned it into a 5-4 loss. We were right there. We were right there against the host team from Maine. We got blown out in one of the games, I think, versus Maryland. We had a tough start, but we're right there, and I keep reiterating, we have 9 out of our 11 kids were first-year kids, and we also only had 11. I'm pretty sure the Aruba team and the Hawaii team had 16 kids on the bench. I mean, they had a pitcher who would come in for a hold, and they had a closer. We didn't have that. Our center fielder was one of our starters. Our shortstop came in to close. So we were pretty versatile, but we were short bench compared to the other teams. So I think we really more than held our own.
So how many kids are you allowed to have?
I think the max is 16. So they had maxed it out.
Okay. And it's just a matter of getting more kids involved in baseball, so you can develop more good talent, and that's what it comes down to, Bobby?
And that's what we hope. So much of this exposure. If there's kids out there who maybe didn't think baseball's still around or weren't sure that they are eligible to play in Little League, I mean, go to the website ndgbaseball.org. It tells you what communities. It's not just NDG. There's a whole bunch of kind of municipalities that are part of our real territory. And we'd love it. I mean, we were talking to some of the U.S. coaches. They're telling us we have, I think, 220 or 240 in our entire program from T-ball all the way to senior. They'll have 200 in senior. So their house league of senior could be 8 or 10 teams. When they do a tryout for their Lynx team, whatever their competitive team's called, they might have 60 kids show up. There might be 1 or 2 kids from each of the house league teams that make it. Our house league team was our Lynx team. We didn't even have enough to make 2 teams. We play like an interleague schedule against Brossard and Valleyfield. So it's just so different. The pool of kids, all the more reason why I think our accomplishment really stands out, because we don't have that kind of a filter, and they're making cuts, multiple cuts to get to their 15 or 16 kids. I think we maybe had 15, 16 tryouts in total.
So it even adds to the accomplishment then that you guys could, I mean, you won the Canadian Championship, and you're, like you say, you're lucky maybe to get 11 or 12 kids show up.
Absolutely. And we had no thoughts about going as far as we did. Our goal, I mean, as we know, Quebec hasn't won at this level since '87. I think it was Valleyfield that last won. Our goal was to try and be very competitive against the powerhouse Canadian regions, which is BC, Ontario, the Prairies, usually Alberta, and the fact that we were able to run the table in the Canadas, that was like this. The whole world thing was really viewed as, I think, as Ray Kalari calls it, it's like you have desserts and then you had your extra dessert. This was like the sundae with the cherry on top. So once we got there, we didn't want to be miscongeniality and just go 0-4. We really wanted to show that we could play, and we had comments. We had comments from some of the coaches and the parents that thought our guys were so scrappy and spunky and in games, and they came up and they said, "Where are your other kids? Like, there's nobody on the bench." All the more reason, again, that I think our accomplishment really stands out.
Wow. So now, as you mentioned, hopefully more kids will hear about this who are playing baseball. But are there restrictions? Like, can you take, because I know you mentioned about how Brossard has a team, and we know there's teams in Valleyfield and stuff like that. Can you draw from anywhere?
You can't really. There's specific I mean, I'm not even so up and up on all of the rules. We have people within the NDG organization that know a lot more about this than me, but we have very defined territories, and we can only draw within those territories. If we want to increase that territory, it has to go through proper channels. There's a map that has to be designed. It has to go through Little League Quebec, then Little League Canada. I think ultimately it even gets approved by Williamsport, real Little League. So you have to draw within those territories. But it's confusing. As we know, there's competing baseball entities. In Quebec, it's Baseball Quebec. In Ontario, there's BC Premier. So there's kind of these competing for the same kids. So we just wanted to make sure that it's on a level playing field. If BQ could draw from kind of the NDG, Côte St. Luc, Westmount, TMR territory, are we able to draw from their territory, which logically makes sense. And sometimes that's the case, sometimes it's not the case. So we know there's kids out there. Unfortunately, some of these kids are in quote-unquote non-assigned Little League territories. So in theory, they can't play for us right now.
Oh, I see.
So you can apply and ask, and if there's, but you got to do it by the rules. So we know there are kids out there, and maybe it'll motivate other people to start their own Little League. I'm sure the entire West Island could support an incredible Little League between Pointe Claire and Dollard and Kirkland. Yeah. I'm sure they also have their great program with Lac St. Louis and BQ. Not to criticize one versus the other. We're happy if the kids are playing. Maybe there's a way for them to play in both programs. Just let the kids play. I mean, it's we were just talking about it, like in our league, I think it costs $150 for someone to play baseball, and it's not just a spring league, through the whole summer. For $150, you're playing, you're getting photos, your trophy, your fun day. If you then make one of the competitive teams, I think it's an extra $150, which is a great deal. You're getting all kinds of tournaments and extra uniforms. For $300, you're playing baseball from kind of whenever the fields are dry in May. We just had our fun day a couple of weeks ago. It's like 4 months of great entertainment outdoors. We know everyone's so hockey focused here. To be able to do this for 4.5 months in the summer is awesome for the kids.
So what happens if, let's say you had a kid move from BC who's played baseball, all minor baseball when he was 8, 9, 10, all the way up, and he moves to Saint Sever.
Yep.
Could he come down and play for you guys, or is there a restriction?
No, as far as I know, not. Unless there is some Little League that is allowed to draw from that geographic area, he would have to go there.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Because I know there are a lot of, and I know Tony has talked about this on his show, and they talked about it a bit in the last couple of days about how, you get a lot of soccer organizations where you get teams like in Ontario and different areas where they're just at the lower level, they're just so much better, and a lot of it's just because of numbers. And I know, out where I live, when you live in small towns and that, if you have someone who's really good at that sport, they might go to Ottawa and play because just to play in a better competition.
Right.
And I was just wondering if that's the same thing in baseball.
I mean, there might be things that goes on in hockey where you're able to get a release from your organization. I'm not really that familiar with it, but it's possible that could. Well, we think that there's enough kids out there kind of in our existing territory or maybe just surrounding our territory that just might not know about it, or, if kind of baseball's fallen off the radar screen a little bit. So maybe something like our accomplishments with all of the coverage and, being on radio, maybe it'll motivate 5 or 10 extra kids or their parents to hear about it and go to the website, and we think that would be a great result if that happens.
So you got a lot of first-year guys, so it's looking good for next year, and I guess everybody's thinking, well, why not repeat?
I'm sure we're going to have a huge target on our back, but with 9 kids coming back, if we could supplement that with 3 or 4 good ones, I would think we'd have as good a chance as anybody. Once you've been through that experience, I mean, it was definitely nerve-wracking for the kids. We didn't blow anyone out in Rouyn-Noranda. We actually just found out recently that the Nationals are going to be in Regina, Saskatchewan next year. So that's part of the benefit of Little League is they end up paying for this stuff. So if you make it, if you win the provincials, you get flown out to Regina. A lot of the stuff, the other stuff, the hotels and all that, you have to do your own fundraising for, which is something that's kind of difficult for an inner-city program like ours. But once you get out there, if our kids already had the experience of having done it this past year, I think we'd have a great shot next year.
What was the best thing for the kids, Bobby? What was just a comment you heard from them?
I think it was winning the Nationals, and then it was like such a tight game, and the way we played. I had talked about it in the past. We don't really have superstars. It was all role playing and playing small ball, and the kids really got into that and appreciated that. So the fact that we had a pitcher, I'll mention the name, Trevor Lall. He joined the team. He was kind of one of the last kids to make it, and he ended up giving us 2 or 3 innings every single game. We did our 30-30-30 pitch count rule. Even that, someone like that, changed the dynamics of the team. It ended up allowing us to save a Liam, some of the other kids we mentioned, or save an Alexi. So everyone played their role, and to win, I think it was a 4-3 result against Ontario. Just the feeling, we were all looking at each other saying, we're all volunteers, we're all parents, and we were all planning on going back to the office the next day. And next thing you know, we're celebrating on the field, and the tournament director says, okay, guys, you got to get on an 8.5-hour bus ride to Bangor, Maine. We're all looking at each other like, we got to go home. We got to go do laundry. We got to get organized.
We have to cut the grass.
Yeah, and they actually compromised. They let us come to Montreal for 12 hours. So we stayed home, did our laundry, had a hot meal, and then the next morning we were on the bus to Bangor. That's when the kids had talked about it. They're announcing us. At first, when they announced Team Canada, we didn't react. We're just so used to be calling the NDG Lynx. We looked at each other and said, "We're Team Canada. Let's go get our uniforms." So that was probably the second thrill was when they first put those blue jerseys on us. That was amazing.
Well, once again, congratulations, and hey, good luck for next year, and hopefully you get some more kids, and like I said, tremendous year, and once again, Bobby, to you and your organization and all the parents and the kids and everybody, congratulations.
We appreciate the interest, Randy. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Bobby. Bobby Titleman, the manager of the NDG Senior Lynx, Canadian champions, and of course held their own at the World Championship in Bangor, Maine, and were handed the key to the city last night. Signed the book. Golden Book. Tieman Show on the Team 990. Stay with us. We'll be back.